Welcome back to Magical Women. I'm your host, Connie Boyd, and this week I'm speaking to Krystyn Lambert, and this is part 2 of our conversation.
I won a World Magic Award in 2007. I was 16, and I won for the pop star persona, pop star character. Funny enough, that summer is when I did the Magic Live show.
Okay.
But I won the World Magic, and then that put me on Masters of Illusion in the early seasons when it was still on Fox. Now it's on the CW. I did early things, and everything ended up on YouTube, and I just got slayed in the comments, and because that's what YouTube comments are. They're mean.
Taylor Swift could help you a lot with that. She's worked very hard and is very accomplished, and they're so cruel.
People are so mean. And I was 16. YouTube was new to me. And I was just like, I was so hurt. The concept of the troll wasn't a thing yet. And so I was just devastated by the response. And granted, some of it was not my best work. At one point I ran out of material, and they're like, well, go buy new stuff. And so I was doing this stuff that I didn't have routines for, that I didn't have scripted, that I didn't have the moves precisely figured out.
They were desperate for material. You are beautiful and
that was part of it. Is Fox Network said, oh, your viewership is highest when that blonde girl is on. Put her on multiple times an episode. Being that age, and I'm told the Fox producers are saying this, I'm like, okay, well, I'll go buy new stuff. I got to. And now, if I were told that, I would be like, sorry, I don't have anything more. That's it. But at that time, I didn't know to say no.
Yeah, it's just so unfortunate that with everything you brought to the table, that nobody mentored or was nurturing enough to say, look, we're going to get so-and-so to work with you to develop these routines. Because it would have been a turning point, and it literally would have changed your world.
Yeah,
so
I think there was also like the pressure of the time and the turnaround per episode, and they were still filming while it was airing, and it was just like all this pressure, all this like go, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do this. And I learned a lot about camera work and being on camera, and that would then inform a lot that I did, because I originally got called out to Vegas to be on Criss Angel's TV show, Believe, which was on Spike TV. And I was on camera, I was his apprentice, that was my character, and I was basically just supposed to like scream when he was in a life-threatening, death-defying escape and act scared. So if you watch that show, you just see me going, is Criss gonna be okay? But whenever you see me in a trick in the show, it's because I have to crawl under a table and pull a thread. I have to, do a secret move, because they very quickly realized, oh, wait, Krystyn actually knows something about magic. And the magic team had been there for weeks before I got there. And so they had everything kind of figured out. And then I come in and they're like, who's this? She's just a hot girl. We don't like her. And it was like, no, I actually have stuff to contribute, and I actually have thinking, and I actually have an opinion. And so what I would do, because they didn't assign me any tricks to work on, is I would just play cleanup. And everything that someone abandoned, I would just go, okay, I'm going to fix this, and I'm going to make it work. So every time you see any goldfish or any bugs, or, I did some really serious consulting work on that show. And, people just, when people were watching it, they just saw me screaming, and they didn't know all the behind the scenes of like, no, actually she's like really doing some serious work on this show. There's a lot that I did when I was 24 or 20, whatever, that I would do differently, but I didn't know at the time. And I did the best I could with what I had and with what I knew and with how I felt.
Right.
And
there, going back to, there really wasn't a support system in place. When I started, people would say, who was your female magic mentor? And I used to say, Bewitched and I Dream of Jamy. And they thought it was funny. But those were the only two people magical when I grew up that were women that I could think of.
When I started magic, I didn't know that women didn't do magic.
Right.
I knew that I hadn't seen a woman, but I didn't know that it was a thing. And so it wasn't until I got into the Magic Castle Junior program where I was like, oh, this is a thing. there aren't other girls here.
There's very few of us. Yeah.
There was a ventriloquist, a juggler, and then one or maybe two other girls, but they didn't come regularly. And I think they kind of just like lost interest. And, you know, as I got older, more girls came in, and now there are more girls than ever before. Thank goodness.
Fabulous. Yeah.
But when I started to come in, it was really challenging.
Well, we're on the subject of the Magic Castle Junior program. Can you just tell the viewers what you went through to actually?
Oh, yes. So when I first tried to join the junior program, you had to do a 5-minute performance audition, and then you had to go through an interview, and then you had to take a written test. So when I went, I did Whit Haydn's comedy ring routine and nothing else, just that. And I was the great Krystyn, illusionist to kings. And I
love it.
I had chutzpah because, you know, I had my acting background. But I basically knew nothing about magic. I knew that I liked magic. This was a place to do magic. So I'm going to join. So I went, I did Haydn's comedy ring routine. I went to the interview. They're like, so who are your favorite magicians? And I was like, Houdini? And they're like, what are your goals in magic? And I was like, silk magic? Like, I knew nothing. And I didn't even make it to the written test.
Okay.
So then they wrote me a very nice letter being like, you need to know more about magic. You need to learn the history. You need to have more skills. Right. And they thought I was just a one-trick pony, which I kind of was. But, you know, my mother was like worried that I was going to be devastated, but I took it as a rally cry. I was like, okay. I grew up in Malibu and California, and there was one little magic store in the valley across from Malibu, and then there was a magic store in Hollywood Magic.
Right.
And the magic store that I went to, Magic Planet, is now like a costume store with like a few magic tricks. It's like not at all what it was.
No, because they just can't afford it. Unfortunately, it's a sign of the times, and they make more money on costumes than they do on magic.
100%. Now it's all online.
Yeah.
And so I found a magic tutor.
Who was your tutor?
His name was Jonathan DeBach. He's now a filmmaker, not in magic anymore.
Okay.
But he was an older member of the program, the junior program.
Okay, cool.
And you know, he taught me how to palm coins and how to shuffle cards and how to do a double lift and, you know, really, double lift is not at all basic. People think it's a beginner's move, and it is absolutely not. But, you know, he taught me some pointers and things, and I got the PBS Art of Magic VHS set.
Right.
And I wore it out. I rewinded and fast forwarded and paused and played and took, you know, avid notes. And
right.
I started to get books from the library and get books from the magic store. And I went to a world magic seminar. I went to the Burton Teen Weekend,
right,
which is where that started with Jeff McBride. And I had gone to mystery school that summer.
Okay.
They did a summer school, which was basically like, are you interested in magic? Here's a crash course.
Right.
And so I worked with Jeff McBride, and that's how I met Armando Lucero, who became my first like real mentor.
Fabulous.
And he was a stage magician before he was a close-up magician. A lot of people don't know that. And he was just so sweet to me. And World Magic Seminar, I met Jamy and Swiss because I had read Shattering Illusions, or I thought, I mean, I don't know what I got out of it at age 12, but so I introduced myself to him. And also, you know, he's all over the art of magic. You can't miss him. Jamy is such a personality.
Right.
And he was so tickled that this little puffy haired girl, you know, my hair was out to here. It was just this massive, I'm embracing my curls as of 2 years ago.
Yeah.
I straightened my hair at age 13, 14. And so it's this big puffy haired girl, and I went up, oh, Mr. Swiss, I read your book. And he was so tickled.
You were adorable. He couldn't resist.
You know, he introduced me to a lot of people. I met Jay Marshall. Jay Marshall actually taught me a lot of shell game moves that he never published. I have yet to like find a way to fit shell game into my show. I haven't made it work, but I do know a lot of moves from Jay which is really something I hold near and dear to my heart. You know, that was a really special time. You know, Billy McComb was so sweet to me. I have this adorable picture of me and Billy McComb at the Vernon table at the castle. It's a totally illegal photo. My mom just like couldn't resist and snapped the photo.
Nice.
And I'm so grateful that she did. It's my favorite picture, and it's just Billy and I like joking around.
Right.
And, you know, he was just so sweet. And,
but how fortunate are you that you were intelligent enough to meet these magicians who are legends in the business, and to understand they were legends and to absorb and learn from them. And not everybody is that intelligent.
Yeah, I mean, in one way, it was almost easier to interact with those kinds of people as opposed to my peers. And so it was really fun to get to spend time with these living legends. And I remember meeting Channing Pollack, and like he was just, you know, God to me.
Movie star handsome.
Oh my God. And I met him a few years before he passed away, and even then he was just like such a stunner, and it was just like, oh my gosh, be still my beating heart, Channing Pollack. He's just so amazing. And so I got to meet him and, you know, spend time with these amazing magicians, and they were all really sweet to embrace me, but you know, they weren't peers of mine. And I was still an awkward 13-year-old myself, you know, no social skills. And I always felt kind of lesser than. So with the magician peers of mine who were like, oh, you got to prove yourself, I felt lesser than. Spending time with these living legends who were really sweet to me, I still felt lesser than.
But they were encouraging you. And
they were totally encouraging. You know, they were totally encouraging, but I still felt lesser than. And so much of my magic career, I felt lesser than. And
Krystyn, don't you think that insecurity, part of it is just being a teenager?
Oh, yeah.
And then being a teenager in the magic community. And also you were like pushed very fast forward to be like a teenage superstar in magic as an actress for multiple reasons. So it just, the pressure is just, it's through the roof. Huh?
Yeah, it's a lot.
And it's natural to be insecure. I mean, I was insecure as a dancer. You never felt good enough. I think also wanting to be good and be the best. If you came in saying, I own it, you would never have accomplished and achieved what you did.
That is a really, really sweet viewpoint of it. Thank you so much for pointing that out. That's healing for me to hear.
It's true.
But yeah, you know, it's like I really only came into my own in recent years. But you know, I hold these memories of these living legends just embracing me, and I really look so fondly on those early days and spending time with those kinds of people. It was just so special. And, you know, I definitely started to come into my own in college, and when I kind of gave up the pop star act. And, you know, I really kind of came into my own that way. And that was really fun. And that's also when I started doing seances, which has really informed my work presently. I wound up doing some seances this last year too. In the fall, I did about 45 seances. And then when I went back to my show, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so easy. And I feel so good. And I feel so commanding. And so, you know, it was a real kind of renaissance for me doing these seances last year. And so I really had the best time, and it was really fun.
I think listening to you and listening to your journey with Cirque du Soleil and the Criss Angel show, all of those challenges, all of those hurdles, all of those negatives are the things that you learned the most from.
Oh, 100%.
And that's an important point for people listening. Like sometimes the things that are the most difficult in your life are the things that are really going to change your life.
Oh yeah, that is so true. I definitely feel like I've overcome a lot and you know, and learned so much. And I'm so grateful to my journey, and I wouldn't have it any other way, of course.
Remember to subscribe and comment below.